And we're back. Howdy y'all, this is Ethan Bonreal, giving you that gay shit you love while playing some more Earthbound. So last time we were here, we finished a dungeon and made our way back to the desert town of Scaraba to do some light level grinding. I also gave my opinions on gay media and how sometimes it's hard to weave gay romance and good storytelling together. This time around, we are going to make our way forward in the plot, so I am officially done level grinding in this game, which is pretty hype. And I'm also going to talk about... that's a good question. I want to just tell some stories. I think I've been a little bit preachy in my past two videos, or a little bit, I don't know, just very emotional. And I'm going to, try to lighten the mood a little bit. And we'll see how that goes. I got a few gay stories still in my inventory that I'm ready to deploy on top of you folks, so I hope you're ready for it. But, I probably should give a recap about what Earthbound is, because I know I get some new viewers on every video, judging from my vid stats, and I will say Earthbound is a game where we take these four big-headed kids and murder our way across the countryside, but the plot is a little bit more intricate than that. These kids have big heads because they're full of psychic powers, and basically what the story is once these four kids meet and combine their powers, they will be able to defeat the evil psychic entity Gygus, who is the embodiment of all evil in the universe. And Gygus's powers allow it to psychically animate both objects and influence animals to do evil things, which is why we're about to punch this great crested buka in the face. Get wrecked, nerd. So, now that we have all four of our party members, we just need to basically make our way to the last two dungeons, and then Gygus will be ready for us to beat the crap out of. Which is legit, right? Thumbs up. So now that you got that rundown, maybe I should explain what I'm doing here as Ethan Bonreal. As a recap for y'all, I'm a big ol' homo, I play these big ol' games, and I give big ol' gay commentary on them, which is usually pretty cool, but sometimes it can be a bit awkward if you're more interested in the actual game. Actually, we're not going to use that PSI ability. You know what? We're going to actually do one more thing before we head into the next dungeon. I'm going to rest in and in one more time, because Jeff actually has 46 IQ now, and that is the exact amount of IQ you need to be able to repair the broken bazooka, which I believe he has in his inventory. No, he doesn't. Who has it? Ah, Paula has it. That's why I didn't repair it. But basically what we're going to do is take advantage of that, because, and we're even going to use the skip sandwich. We'll use it on Ness. There we go. And we're going to put the bazooka in his inventory, and he'll have a chance to repair that item, because that is Jeff's unique power. He can repair items that are broken. And the broken bazooka will turn into an actual bazooka, which we will use to blast the crap out of some baddies. Sound great? Thumbs up. But anyway, what's going on with me? My family came and went. I said my stuff and maintained my role as the elusive gay cousin. It's Thanksgiving here in the US, so I had people over in my house, and that was pretty cute. I descended down the stairs, made a plate, and said my hi, gave my love, and scurried my gay ass back upstairs and played some Heroes of the Storm. Which is, just about as much obligation as you can get out of me. I really don't like being around people that much, even if I'm related to them, which is sad but true. And if you can relate, smash that like, because I'm all about that elusive gay aesthetic. I'm ready to just hide at a moment's notice. But, I guess I have a topic for y'all today, so, something I was thinking of is it important to y'all to be able to play video games with, like, a potential romantic partner? Because for me, I've already said this in a video before, but it actually kind of turns me on when guys are good at video games, and conversely, when guys are, like, really, really bad at them. But, like, bad in a particular way, actually. When guys are bad at video games and also ragers, that really turns me the fuck off. Like, that is so repulsive to me. But I really like it when a guy can keep up with me when I'm gaming. I actually, a while ago when I was in college, this has actually happened several times, but I was hanging out with this dude and he was interested in me, and he was like, why don't we play some Super Smash Bros? And I was like, okay, that's cute, I guess we can do that. And I was just having a conversation with him while we were playing, and apparently he thought that meant I was condescending to him, because I was also beating the shit out of him. I like 3-stocked him like 3 times in a row. And he just was not feeling it, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't even really realize what was going on. Like, I could feel like he was getting really short with me and being a bit cranky. And I was like, what the fuck? What's this deal? And eventually he just, like, put the controller down and he was like, I'm done. And just, like, walked off. And I was like, wait, why are you going? Like, you weren't even really saying bye to me. But I realized it was because he was tilted because he was getting the shit wrecked out of him. And I was like, whatever, queen, get into it. But eventually he was cool with it, and he had a gigantic penis, and we had sex, and that was great. But he turned out to be a little bit of a douchebag, go figure, because he's a rager. And that's fine. Honestly, I'm fine with that, because, you know, he had a big old wiener, and he put it in my life for a little bit. Actually, I have a lot of history with that person, but I'm not going to get into that right now. I've actually talked about him in a few previous videos. But our goal in Earthbound right now, back to the game, is actually we need to go through this temple. We have a picture of a hieroglyph in Ness's inventory, and we need to look at that, because there's a pattern we need to perform to open this Sphinx. To fight against invaders, we built the fortress, nevertheless, yeah, the invaders will be reborn, even now, blah blah blah. Okay, and then you need to give me those numbers. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 5. Okay, I can remember that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Oh shit, boy, we got some plot. Okay, what the fuck do we do now? Okay, we did it. Alright, warriors, enter now, search for the Hawkeye. So the Hawkeye is technically optional, I believe, but it's much like playing Pokemon without getting Flash, at least in some of the earlier games, where you basically just end up wandering around without being able to see, but if you memorize the pattern of the place you need to go, then you don't really need it. But we're going to go ahead and get it, because the plot demands it. And we're just going to move on with our lives. I accidentally hit my microphone there. So, the enemies in here aren't that bad. I'm going to take advantage of the Kraken soups I have once we get to the boss. Spoilers, there's a boss at the end of this pyramid. And they're not that unique, however, or they're not that hard, but they are very interesting. They're very different from a lot of the other enemies we've seen. They're not animals, they're actually like hieroglyphs, and mummies, basically, which, I mean, it makes sense, we're in a fucking pyramid. But I kind of miss that era of games where, like, pyramids were, like, kind of generic, like, stock levels in games. Like, you just always had pyramids in platforming games, but that kind of eventually died out. But, you know, I'm all for it. I'm ready for the Renaissance. Oh shit, I got attacked by a hieroglyph. So, we'll go ahead and take advantage of some PSI this fight. But like I was saying, is it important for y'all to be able to play video games with the person you're interested in, or do you like when guys are good at video games, or is it like just so-so, like you could take it or leave it? Because I know for some people who are like gay gamers, that's actually really important with them. They just want to have like a cute woke bae to snuggle up with. And other people just are like, actually, I want a jock to just toss me around like a football. And I don't care if he's really into games. And that's valid. I mean, it's all valid. But honestly, it can be really exciting and scary to be with someone who's, like, really different from you. Like, sometimes I've been with guys who just really absolutely don't like video games, which is actually a little bit freaky to me, honestly. Like, not only not being into them, but just, like, disliking them and not really having any amusement from them at all. And, you know, it can be exciting and it can be scary, because it's like, okay, if this person doesn't like this thing that you're into, but they're still talking to you, like, man, you must got something good going on, because they're still interested despite you not having that kind of shared interest. Maybe, I guess you're just really cute, or they just see something else in you that you don't see in yourself. And personally for me, it's like, you know, damn, this person sees what a gigantic anxious nerd I am, and they don't even fucking like video games. Like, why the hell are they talking to me? It sounds a little bit fake, but I guess from their perspective, when you're with someone who's a lot different from you, or from a different culture, it's exciting, I guess. It's exciting for the other person. And I guess I feel that way too, because I think a lot of the people I've been with have been very different from me. And I think that's just a statement on the growth I've had as a person, and also like the material changes in my life. Like, spoilers, I'm a black person, and I've moved to a place that does not have many black people, and so a lot of the people that I've been with have not been other black people, for better or worse. And so we've just always had a bit of a cultural difference. And not only that, they've just been people who are like very middle class or have just lived all their life that way. And that's, I'm not gonna, like I've said, I'm not gonna pretend like I'm from the hood, but like, it wasn't until later in my life that we really like were pretty solidly middle class. And so I'm just a little bit culturally different from a lot of the people I'm around. And that includes guys that I'm interested in, or guys that are interested in me. But it makes for some funny scenarios, honestly, like, you know, I guess I could tell some stories, so let me back up. So sometimes it can be like a little bit ugly because, you know, y'all are from different cultures and you got different expectations about what's appropriate for each other. Like, personally, I like PDA, and I'm also really loud and black in public sometimes. And not only that, but I can be kind of confrontational, like when people try to start shit with me. Like, I'm always amazed that some people will just like let people just bully them and then just be fine with that and not say anything back, because I'm just like, I'm ready to start shit in public and embarrass everyone, like in a mile radius of where I am. If someone tries to start shit with me, like, I just have no tolerance for that. I don't let people do shit to me. And you know, other times I've been around guys, and sometimes maybe we'll get like a not good look, or someone will just be a little bit homophobic, and they'll just shrug it off, and I'll be like, what the fuck, let's fight them. But that's not all the time. Sometimes, I mean, I have people training, like, I'm not just itching for a fight, or I'm not scrapping around and ready to start shit all the time, but that's just, I think I'm just in a phase of my life where I really don't want people to be mean to me for no reason, basically, and I'm willing to stand up for myself. So let's go ahead and heal these colds. There we go. So the gimmick with the enemies in here is that they give you colds for the most part. That's what they do. That's kind of like their mummy's curse, which is kind of like another stock thing from pyramid levels in video games. And being sick isn't too detrimental, but it's basically like being poisoned, which is interesting because Earthbound has like 3 or 4 variations of being poisoned in it. You can have a cold, you can have sunstroke, and you can be envenomed or poisoned. And they all do damage over time to you, and you can have all 3 of them at once, which is pretty rough actually, because being sick only does 4 damage per turn, and having a sunstroke does 4 damage per turn, but being poisoned does 20 damage per turn, and if you have all 3 of them on you, that actually can really whittle through your life very quickly. And not only that, it affects you outside of battle too. So it can be a lot to deal with, but luckily we don't have to necessarily navigate that in here so much. And I will say we're also pretty overleveled for this part of the game, because I went off screen in between videos and leveled up a good bit. Which, I mean, that's just what you gotta do in this game, to an extent. Sometimes I like the challenge of doing low-level runs, but Earthbound's really brutal about that, because it's really, you don't get a lot of status effects until later in the game, and then they usually have like 50-50 chances of working. Hey, we're at the boss. I actually forgot this casket was the boss. So we are at the Guardian General. We are going to slurp up some Kraken soup. There we go, you take that, Ness. And we're gonna give it to Paula too, I guess. Yeah, she could stand, drink that. Oh shit, I gave it to Ness, actually. Embarrassing. And then, I don't even know why I'm drinking this, because it's actually probably gonna kill the boss in 1 or 2 turns, once we, actually take advantage of, the bottle rockets that we have in our inventory, but yeah, let's go ahead and just drink the Kraken soup now. And I don't think Pooh has one. No, he doesn't, but that's fine, because he just does his own thing. Let's try Mirror on him. Mirror is actually Pooh's unique ability. It allows him to basically turn into an enemy. It's kind of like having a blue mage a little bit, or more specifically, I guess it's kind of like Gao's Rages in Final Fantasy VI, although it's pretty different. He basically turns into a copy of that enemy, and he has all of that enemy's skills and abilities, and if that enemy has any status effects on them, I'm pretty sure it also will give him that status effect. I guess more aptly, it's probably more like having a Ditto on your team, TBH. But we'll see how it goes from here. The problem with Mirror is it doesn't always work, and then it takes a turn to actually go into effect if it does work. And so it's very unreliable, which is why I'm not trying to do it again, even though it didn't work. And some enemies are flat out immune to it, but it doesn't really give you an indication if enemies are immune or not. Anyway, let's go ahead and murder this dude to death, and I can get back to my conversation I was having with y'all about shit. But, you know, about that whole stuff with differences and stuff with other people, I think a big difference that I have to deal with sometimes with guys is that I really love PDA. And like I said, I can be confrontational, but a lot of the guys I've been with have just really not been into that, and sometimes I challenge them a little bit, not because I want to pressure them, but I want to know why they feel the way they feel. And honestly, I want them to kind of believe in me, because it's like, the way I feel about it is, you know, if we're together, like, I want you to be ride or die for me, basically. Like, if someone doesn't like what we're doing, just like, let's fight them, honestly. And we should be able to basically do whatever we want. Like, I really don't want to live my life dealing with fear, basically, and worrying about what other people think. And I guess that's really ethnic of me, TBH. Because honestly, that's kind of how my mom is. She really... And it annoys the crap out of my dad, sometimes, I can tell, because she'll just, like, not like how people treat her, and she'll say something about it, and my dad will be like, well, why are you so confrontational? And she'll just be like, shut up, nerd. But, that's something I've been into. And, you know, a particular story... you know, there's this one time that I had went to the mall with this dude that I was regularly hooking up with, and he had been real insistent on this idea that, you know, gay people aren't really oppressed, it's not a big deal anymore, and I was like, okay, whatever, I guess, you don't have to tell me that, like, I think I can have an opinion on my own, but he just was really insistent on that. But at the same time, he was also DL, and he didn't want to talk about his sexuality. He just wanted to meet up and just, like, do it and cuddle. And I was like, whatever, I've been with many men like you, and that's totally fine. Okay, so now that we stepped on that switch, we actually have to go back upstairs and go to that sarcophagus that we passed earlier. But, you know, he'd been really insistent on the idea that gay people aren't oppressed, and it wasn't a big deal, and that society was accepting, and I was like, okay, like, well, if it's not that big a deal, why don't you fucking hold my hand, you big nerd? And I wasn't doing that to be mean, I was just teasing him, basically, because I knew he was a little bit afraid, in actuality, and he was like, he actually obliged me, which I was like, man, that takes guts, that made me like him a little bit more. But he actually stopped because people were looking at us mean, because we were doing it in public, it's an outdoor mall, and people were just looking at us mean, and I was like, I thought people didn't really care that much, and he just didn't say anything, and I was like, exact, because, you know, it's a big enough deal to some people that it can make it hard. And, you know, you might be thinking, well, like, if you knew people were going to be mean to you, like, why did you press him to do that? And that's not really what hey, Paula's about to get murdered to death, that's not good. Why did you pressure him to do it? And the thing was, is that, I wanted him to basically believe in us, that if someone looked at us ugly, that we would be able to take care of it and we'd be fine. Because honestly, like, not to be toxic, but no one at this suburban middle-class mall really got any sort of hands. Like, I'm not really afraid of anyone beating the crap out of me at this mall. Like, it's just really, like, middle-aged women looking at us ugly, or just, like, old countrymen just scoffing at us. And I'm like, whatever, I can take you in a fight, nerd. So I'm not really worried about their snide looks or whatever, but, he was, and I think that was it was amusing, because it was like, a lot of times when I deal with guys who are like, sexuality isn't a big deal, stuff like that happens, and they just have no way of really coping with it, because they just really refuse to engage with stuff like their sexuality at all, and so when something bad happens, they just have no way of dealing with it, because they never really think of it. Which is, I mean, it's whatevs. I'm not gonna be like, it's an I told you so moment, because that's kind of mean, honestly. It's more that, again, I just wanted him to, believe in us and believe in our ability to take care of ourselves, because I promise you no one at this suburban mall is gonna shank us. But anyway, I think this was pretty solid commentary. After we leave this pyramid, I'm gonna wrap up the video, but we got the Hawkeye, which is what we got off that altar back there. The Hawkeye, I never really explained what it does, but it's an item that reveals dark areas. It literally functions exactly like the Pokemon ability Flash, which means we're actually going to only use it in one fucking area, and that's the next area of the game that we're going to go to after the desert. Spoilers, we're going to a swamp called Deep Darkness, but it's going to be a while before we go here, and you can actually skip this part of the game, and the game will try to convince you to go back, but like I said, you can technically skip getting the Hawkeye, but I like to get it just because pyramids are cool, and it reminds me a little bit of Banjo-Kazooie, which was, honestly, that was an iconic game for me as a child. I fucking loved the shit out of Banjo-Kazooie. I remember playing it with my cousins a lot. I don't know what gaming was for y'all, but, like, basically, I used to play with my cousins a lot, and we only had one controller, and so we would have to take turns and find creative ways to basically fuck around with the games. And so, like, what we would do is basically pass the controller around for certain things, like, when someone was using Banjo, it was one of my cousin's turns, and then if someone was using Kazooie, like if we had to use the Talon Trot, like we would hand the controller over to the person who was Kazooie for that day, and I thought that was pretty cute, honestly. I don't think I would do that anymore, because I'm greedy and I just want to play my fucking games, but it's cute to see the way that kids play around with stuff like that, and find ways to take turns. So for my followers or subscribers who have siblings that you had to share games with, did you do stuff like that when you were younger? Something they used to do to me, because I was kind of like the youngest cousin for a while, was they would hand me a, just something random, like a remote or something, and be like, this is your controller, you're playing now. And I would be like, oh my god, I'm playing XD, this is so great. And they would actually be playing, and I would just be turning the channel on a TV in a different room or something, which was cute. Actually, one of my earliest memories involves video games, and I'm not shitting you with this. I was at daycare, and in my daycare they had an NES that they pulled out on occasion when it was a rainy day, because they really wanted us to be outside and exercising and stuff. And everyone would have to take a turn, because they were playing single-player Mario, or Mega Man 2, I remember that was the other game. And then they also had the Dominoes game with the Noid, I forgot what it's called. Oh, Yo Noid. And basically, we would just play, and it would be my turn, and I was really too young to understand video games, or like link the fact that the controller did specific things when you push specific buttons. And so, like, they put the controller in my hand, and everyone was cheering for me, because, like, I could run back and forth, but I couldn't figure out how to jump as Mario. And eventually, one day, it took like several days, and eventually I got it. I jumped on the first Goomba, and everyone cheered for me, because I was one of the younger kids there, and it made me so happy. Maybe that's secretly what made me into a nerd, and all this shit about being gay and isolated is fake. But who knows? I mean, there's no one cause for anything, right? It's always a bunch of different things. And I'm gonna wrap up the video here because we're getting to 25 minutes, but as always, I don't want y'all to feel like I'm trying to... The fuck? Well, we're getting some plot dropped on us. Let's do it. Well done. You have made it. Okay. We finally meet, Prince Pooh. Yo, what's good? The stars foretold that I would meet you here, so now it's time to show you the way of the star storm. For a while, you must live far away from your friends and live with me. Do you understand? There's only one answer. I must stop you here, even if you don't want to. Stay with me a while. Do you understand? It is important that I study and learn the star storm. It will be most helpful to us. Once I learn it, I'll meet up with you, Ness. Trust me, I will see you again. It depends on Pooh's efforts that will determine the reuniting of the group. Be faithful and wait until the time comes. And he pieces the fuck out, so now we're down Pooh, so we only have one healer. Luckily, that dude healed us as we left, so we are in tip-top shape for the most part. But I'm gonna wrap up the video here, like I said. And my final comment is, as always, I don't try to make it seem like gay stuff or people's lives are basically primarily decided by their sexual orientation. I just like to give y'all different things to think about. In part because it makes for interesting video content, in my opinion, because I don't see a lot of people talking about this. And then also, a lot of us don't really have other people to talk about our sexual orientation with. But anyway, in the meantime and between time, I'm Bonreal, and I'm about to be out this piece, so I'll see you nerds later. Thanks, and goodbye.